Hey, all my Aries friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today with your February monthly horoscope. I'll admit these horoscopes are a little late. Today is February 3rd, and I have been swimming through the Venus-Neptune North Node conjunction as it has been opposing my sixth house of work. But I digress because I wanted to apologize for my tardiness with my Saturn in the 10th house. This is a big month, and it's a big and short month because it's teeing up March, where we're going to start eclipse season. We are going to see the stellium of Mercury, Venus, Neptune, Saturn, and the North Node. We're going to see in March and in April this happening because of the retrogrades. And so our awareness at this time is truly important. And the polarizing dynamics of this conjunction will really be best served through our awareness, because those of us that are clinging to old structures or clinging to illusions or things that have repetitively shown a lack of evolution, it'll be very challenging. And those that are willing to surrender into the wisdom of whatever this transit, I hate to use the word releases, but there is a good possibility that something is released for something else to come in. And I believe this is an awareness. So I don't think it has to be the releasing of anything that you hold dear unless it's fear-based and you're clinging to something out of balance. Let's jump in, Aries. We saw on the first, the North Node, Venus, and Neptune all conjunct at 28 degrees. This went on through the second at 28 degrees of Pisces. I think that this is pivotal because the 28th degree is a degree that reduces down to a 10. The 28th degree is a Cancer degree. So there's a healing, a nurturing, an intuitive dynamic to it. And the 11 to me is an awareness of my thoughts. And in this particular case, the thoughts that are coming through that are spiritually inspired, that may even feel a bit disruptive. And I say that because Neptune and Pisces and Venus all together have to do with my self-worth, have to do with my connection to my soul's voice, has to do with my ancestral patterns and thoughts and behaviors of action. And so I think that this is really powerful. This conjunction, Venus will move into Aries, and then she will retrograde in March back into Pisces. But Neptune and the North Node are traveling together, and Saturn is catching up with them. So this North Node is bringing this ravenous energy, this wanting, and this almost, sometimes the North Node is so, it's like Mars in some ways. It's very impulsive and very reactionary and very sort of juvenile in some ways because it lacks patience. And so this may be a time when you feel impatient because your spirituality is not showing up in the material world fast enough. And that's not going to work because that's not how it works. Spiritual dynamics, messages, and inspirations come through the subtleties and the quiet of our mind. So I bring this up. Now we get to, let's go to the fourth. I'm going to bring up the chart now because on the fourth, Venus is going to go into Aries, Jupiter will go direct, and Mars will be squaring Chiron all month. So let me pull up the chart now. Okay, so this video is based on whole sign Western astrology. And here we see that while the first house is actually Taurus, we see most of the activity taking place for you in your 12th house. Okay, there's Venus at 29 degrees today, the 3rd. Tomorrow, she will move to 0 degrees of Aries. Now, I think this is significant because while Venus moves into Aries, she's technically in detriment. She's not considered the most feminine here. She's fiery, she's independent. And I think that this represents the modern woman. I really do. And I think when we see a planet at the 0 degree of Aries, we're seeing this infusion of birthing a new aspect of the self, something that's never been experienced. It's the world access. It's the beginning of the soul's journey. Literally, the in birthing is that 0 degree. And I think it's significant because while Venus will continue to move, I think up to 10 degrees before she retrogrades, um, Saturn and Neptune are going to come into conjunction a little later, late in the winter, early spring, and they're going to stay traveling over that 1, 0, 1, and 2 degrees of Aries. So this is super powerful because it's going to bring up history. It's going to bring up history that was potentially erosive. It could bring up a sense of repression and a sense of depression and limitation, and yet that would be spirit sort of containing you in a place that will allow for an illumination and an awareness that you can take into the subsequent months to start to manifest a deeper truth of what you want in your life. So I think this is really important. We see that Jupiter has gone direct. This is in your 3rd house of Gemini. That's the house of thinking, of speaking, of teaching, of community, of your siblings. We're going to see Jupiter literally at 11 degrees almost throughout the whole month of February. I think it finally moves to 12 degrees around the 24th. And I think this is significant because while Jupiter is in detriment technically in Gemini, the task here is to be able to apply my ideologies, my philosophies, my connection to spirit in my everyday conversation, in the loop of my mind, to become more and more aware of the self-talk that then becomes the conversation with others that either supports my evolution or inadvertently thwarts it. And I think that this is further evidenced by Jupiter's trine up here to Mercury. Now, Mercury naturally rules Gemini, and while they are, it's like Mercury's like the small, short bits of information. Jupiter's these wide, broad thoughts and visions, and together they can come together to create within the material. We see that Mercury is currently transiting through Aries rising 11th house of hopes and dreams and the future. We do see a bit of a challenge between the Mars in Cancer in its fall. Mars in Cancer is literally frustrated because it has to consider emotional dynamics when trying to achieve something. And, when you think about Mars ruling heroes and ruling war, there's a certain amount of emotional numbness or fear numbness that has to happen in order to facilitate those jobs. And here Mars has to be aware and sort of straddle this line of emotions and how they affect action. Okay. Now, and how it affects the self, because Chiron has been transiting through your 1st house. Right now, it is at 19 degrees, which is the Libra degree of balance. Balance is never sitting like this solid. Balance is flow and the wisdom of flow. So we have a little bit of a challenge here, yet that challenge, that push-pull between Mars wanting to take action in support of the self, but understanding that the action needs to be before it's literally physically taken, it gets to be examined. What is the emotional platform with which I'm taking my actions on? And Mars is being supported by your 12th house Saturn transit at the Leo degree, tasking Mars to come from his heart, coming from courage and bravery to know how to put the gas on and then take the gas off, to reassess or to be aware of that emotional dynamic when I take steps. If I'm taking them through impatience or frustration, I might as well be walking around in a cul-de-sac because I'm going to have to revisit the energy. So this is just the beginning of the month. Let's go now to the 10th And this is where we're going to see Uranus, who's been stationed at 23 degrees of Taurus in your second house, literally since December, I believe, 19th, 2024, and will stay at 23 degrees until March 12th, 2025. So for a whole other month, this 23 degree is significant because it's the Aquarian degree. It's an opportunity to liberate myself from where I have been, my personal family history that has not allowed my genius to be expressed, my hopes and dreams, my what I want for the future. We also see that it is squaring at this time the sun, but more even importantly, I think Mercury, because as Mercury is in Aquarius, it is wanting to think about the future, wanting to live. When I think Mercury rules my everyday lives, my emails, my communications, my errands, the roadways, the escalators, the schools, the errands. I mean, there's so many things what Mercury rules. And here there is this push-pull between where I have been and what I can see in the future. And on some level, that Uranian energy is saying you can't see something you're in the midst of inventing, something that you're in the midst of experimenting with. And what we're experimenting with is our thoughts, our things. And when we focus on something that we worry about, then we create more dynamics to support the working through the worry, the being intentional through it. And that's where the genius of Uranus shows up. We also see that at this time, there's a loose trine between the South Node and Virgo, which then further supports the release of the monkey mind and the habits that could potentially be there. Okay. We see on the 14th that Mercury will move into Pisces. And I think this is where we really start to feel the convergence of the planets, because as Venus is moving, I believe, let me just shoot over to March. I think that's when she goes retrograde. Yeah, on March 2nd at 10 degrees of Aries. So she's starting to slow her roll a bit in Aries. Saturn is starting to catch up even faster with Neptune. And then as Mercury moves in, obviously it's going to move very quickly. So this is going to be very powerful, because for Aries, this is triggering the Akashic records within your soul. It's triggering, how will you act? And mostly, I believe, how will you process your frustrations, your angers, your resentments, the old stories that don't change. We all start off this planet, sort of naive. And those of us that study astrology, when we start to recognize people with a lot of fixed planets, we have to sort of come from a new dynamic, a new perspective, because if that person isn't aware of their fixed nature, if we as Mars ruled people are frustrated with their fixed nature, is it really their problem or is it ours? It's our job to shift away from it, or to be aware of it and be brave in how we take actions. The sun is going to enter Pisces on the 18th this year, kind of early, actually. Usually it's around the 20th, but we see now the sun is at 0 degrees of Pisces. Here comes this tighter and tighter stellium. On the 22nd, Mercury starts a conjunction with Saturn. And this is, thoughts of yesteryear. This is thoughts of historical authority over me, potentially any repressions, limitations. There could even be a little feelings of sluggishness, like I want to offer it this way, because I personally have felt a lot of challenges with the Venus Neptune conjunction that we're experiencing on the 3rd of February. It's challenged me to get my everything done, and I haven't had the energy for it. So I kind of want to offer this, because this can also be a very you can be very tired during this conjunction of all these planets as a stellium grows. Pisces rules the bedroom, it rules dream time. So your exhaustion in the physical could also facilitate your connection to spirit if you use that time constructively, meaning, if you're tired and you want to take a nap, do your best to keep a dream journal by you and call upon spirit to work on you during your quiet time. The exact conjunction between Mercury and Saturn will happen on the 25th. But before we get there, Mars will go direct at 17 degrees of Cancer on the 24th. So Mars is been stationed in fall, challenged by dealing with emotions, old family stories, or lack of nurturing, or even the potential of hovering. There's something about polarities going on here. And we see at this point, there is a trine between Mercury and Mars. And this, for me, for you, Aries rising, Cancer is your 4th house. Pisces is your 12th house. There's something going on where you could have an epiphany, have a revelation, have an awareness about your siblings, your cousins, your childhood, and how you were raised, and sort of in many ways, just be able to move beyond it. Take it like, I always tell clients that the dark spots make the color pop in our lives. It gives the color vibrance. And I think that's the stage that Mars is at right now. Oh, I forgot to mention, pardon me. There will be a Leo full moon on the 12th. I should go back. I'm going to do a separate video on that. It will happen at 5:53 a.m. conjunct Mercury. So this is going to be really illuminating about the childlike aspects in your life. And if you're having fun and if you're enjoying yourself, that 24th degree is the Piscean degree, a very creative degree in the house of Leo. On the 27th, we will have a new moon at 9 degrees of Pisces. Again, separate video for that. That will be more focused on how to flesh out new creative dynamics and using our creativity as a vessel for communication with our soul and our divinity within. On the 28th, we're going to see this really this group of planet. There you go. It's just now we've got the sun and the moon coming together. We're going to see a new moon in Pisces in March. We see the moon is now, we've already had a new moon in Pisces. I'm sorry, on the 27th of February. I just said that, silly me. We see the moon in conjunction with Saturn. So this could be thoughts of, not only nurturing, but of how the feminine has affected you in your life and how it has molded you in many ways. The moon represents the mother energy. We see that Venus is stationed at 10 degrees of Aries. So she is getting ready for her retrograde in March. This is going to be this could be a time for Aries, really, because you're so action oriented. And this is the 12th house of alone time and isolation and meditation time. You could really be feeling a lack of motivation. Mars is still stationed in your 4th house in fall. And I kind of want to offer it this way. Sometimes giving into that rest period actually serves a better or a more focused and a smoother path in the future or on the way. I'm Mars ruled, and I've had to surrender to this stellium because I don't want to fight with myself. And I know that vibrationally, it's so important that I show enthusiasm in my work in order for it to connect the way I want it to. So when I'm pushing and I'm doing a have to instead of a get to, I'm not really being effective. So I think that's what Aries really gets to think about over this month of February. And through the reflections and the actual quiet time that you spend versus the physical movement and trying to push something forward will serve you better in March and in April as the stellium continues and we start the review that Mercury and Venus will offer. Okay. That's it for me for February for my Aries rising. I'm starting to do live tarot readings on Wednesdays. We're still figuring out what time frame works best for everybody, to be able to catch those of you around the world at a reasonable hour so you can get in there and ask your personal questions. So this Wednesday, February 5th from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific time, I will be live on YouTube where you can put your personal question in the chat and I will take people in order. Those that donate to the super chat and the super thanks will move to the head of the line. All right, that's it for me. Be sure to check out your love and money tarot card reading for February, and you have your yearlies that will help support you throughout all of 2025, as this is a pivotal shift in humanity as we see so many of the outer planets change signs and start their influence into our futures. All right, Aries, thank you so much. Please like, please subscribe, and please share. And I will see you in March if I don't see you on Wednesday.